welcome to Hashimoto's Unfiltered, real talk, real solutions. The podcast where we cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of living with Hashimoto's. My name is Dr. Ray Benedetto, your host, and I'm here to share my expertise, personal insights, and from time to time, conversations with incredible guests to help you take control of your health. Together, we'll explore actionable items, debunk myths, and navigate the complexities of your thyroid health. So whether you're newly diagnosed or a seasoned warrior, this is your space for unfiltered truth and real hope. Let's dive in. Last week, we were touching on, or 2 weeks ago, we were touching on the more common symptoms. Like, what's the deal? Like, why is it so hard? Like, why is it so hard to lose weight? And today we're going to talk about fatigue. And it's like, why like clinical fatigue, like exhaustion. We're going to touch on what are the mechanisms behind, like, why does hypothyroidism, why does Hashimoto's cause these rotten symptoms? And the big ones that are fairly common for most, especially, are fatigue's a big one, right, for most. So we're going to kind of do a deep dive on fatigue and Hashimoto's and thyroid today. And if you have any questions on this, let me know. So let's kind of start broad, right? And again, most of you who are listening to this right now, you know this, but let's kind of start at the beginning, and then that'll lead us into the fatigue talk and kind of like, what's the deal here? Like, what's going on? Why does it get better? Why is it so prominent? Why is it so pervasive as a symptom? Let's start at the beginning, right? Most of you, again, know this, but it bears repeating. The Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition, right? So the immune system is attacking the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland gets damaged, and that leads to the reduced production of hormones, thyroid hormones, right? Which then results in hypothyroidism, or, underactive thyroid, which then results in all the symptoms. And the reality of it is these thyroid hormones, T4 and T3 primarily, they are obviously vital. They're absolutely crucial to regulating our metabolism, right? So these are the hormones that make our metabolism go. They're the gas pedal. So they're crucial at regulating our metabolism and our energy production in the body. It's like logs on the fire, right? We're stoking the furnace. Well, we need that fire burning to run for our metabolism. So when these hormones are deficient or when they're low, you'll get a wide range of, obviously, a lot of different body functions slow down. So when we think of some other things, we think of like digestion, we think of brain function, we think of like bone metabolism, right? Osteoporosis is really common as well. Basically, think of the body just slowing down, right? The metabolism, the weight gain, all that kind of stuff. So one of those hallmark symptoms, obviously, is fatigue. We don't have the energy to do stuff. So let's do a deep dive on some of the mechanisms as far as why this happens. And then, as always, if you listen to these talks, it's like, okay, here's the problem. Here's why it happens. What's the solution? How do we fix this problem? So let's start talking about some of the key mechanisms behind why Hashimoto's hypothyroidism can cause fatigue. We kind of briefly talked about number one, which is a slowing down of someone's basal metabolic rate. Their metabolism slows down. So these thyroid hormones, we talked about them, T4, T3. T3 is the more active form, are the primary regulators of our body's basal metabolic rate, right? Or BMR, it's called. So they influence how quickly, this is metabolism 101, right? They influence how quickly does your body convert nutrients, the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe. How quickly does your body convert this fuel into energy? It's like a car engine, like a combustion engine, right? Put fuel in the tank. There's got to be a combustion that takes place, and gives the fuel to the engine to run. With insufficient thyroid hormones, so if you don't have enough of these hormones floating around, or if you do and your body's not utilizing them properly, like they're not getting into the cells due to inflammation or what have you, then your basal metabolic rate is going to slow down significantly because we can't get the fuel, we can't get the hormones that fuel the cells that run the metabolism in the cells. We can't get them into the cells. There's either not enough of them or we can't get them into the cells where they need to go. So the body's basal metabolic rate is going to slow down significantly. It means that your cells, all of your cells throughout the body, they're operating at a lower energy level. So if your cells need a full tank of energy to run, and they're only given half a tank, then the cells can only function at half a tank energy levels, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. So this is going to lead to a pervasive feeling of sluggishness, fatigue, tiredness, exhaustion, all that kind of stuff. This is especially true in the brain. So your brain and your nervous system uses up a lot of the fuel that you give your body, right? So think about that gas tank, and you fill the gas tank, a quarter of the gas in the tank, so like 1/4 tank of fuel is used just to run your brain and your nervous system. It uses an incredible amount of fuel compared to its body mass. Like your brain doesn't take up a large portion of your body mass, and in proportion to that, it uses 1/4 to 1/3 of all of the energy that you bring in. So this is why, fatigue, brain fog, like this mood, like that's why your brain gets significantly affected by thyroid conditions, Hashimoto's in particular, obviously, which is the most common cause. So there's not enough gas in the tank to run the car. What we also see, number two here, is impaired cellular energy production. So at the cellular level, now this is typically has to deal with mitochondrial dysfunction. This is why I test my patients on a Dutch test primarily, but we look at the DNA as well to see if they already have potential genetic issues, and or we can test for mitochondrial function indirectly on a Dutch test. So the Hashimoto's, the hypothyroidism can result in mitochondrial dysfunction, right? So your thyroid hormones play a large role in mitochondrial function. They are, if you remember from high school biology 101, mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. This part of the cell is responsible for generating something called ATP. ATP is the main energy currency of your cell. So the mitochondria is where the glucose from the food that you eat is taken, right? The glucose goes into the cell, and in the mitochondria is where this glucose is taken and is turned into ATP. I'm using big fancy words here, through a process called oxidative phosphorylation. Those are big fancy biochemistry terms. Don't worry about it. That's the process by which your cells, your mitochondria specifically, take the glucose and turn it into ATP. So we need a lot of this ATP. That's what our cells burn for fuel. Now, if you have hypothyroidism or low thyroid hormones, again, which is 90% of the time due to Hashimoto's, you're going to have reduced mitochondrial content. So you're going to have actually fewer mitochondria that are produced. And then those that are present, like the mitochondria you do have, become less efficient at generating energy. So we have a reduced number of mitochondria, and then the ones we do have don't work as well as they're supposed to, basically. Hypothyroidism due to Hashimoto's can alter enzyme activity, right? So thyroid hormones influence the activity of a lot of different enzymes, which are the catalysts involved in energy metabolism. So deficiencies in thyroid hormones can impair the usage or the functioning of these enzymes, again, leading to less efficient energy production. And then the third way that we can impair cellular energy production is through a term called oxidative stress, right? So oxidative stress is, again, the big fancy term for cellular damage, like abnormal cellular damage, most commonly through inflammatory process, not only, but most commonly. Hypothyroidism in general, again, which is mostly due to Hashimoto's, can contribute to increased oxidative stress, which can damage cells, obviously damage mitochondria, further impair energy production. Again, we can measure this on Dutch testing, and we can look at this stuff on DNA to see if my patients have already issues maybe in this arena, and the Hashimoto's, the hypothyroidism makes it worse. So it increases cellular damage, basically, and mitochondrial damage. So again, impairs your energy production. Now, also, when we talk about fatigue with hypothyroidism in general, mostly Hashimoto's, again, it can cause muscle dysfunction or myopathy, right? They call it hypothyroid myopathy, right? Muscle dysfunction. So thyroid hormones are essential for muscle function, right? Including metabolism in muscle cells. So what can happen with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's is we can get changes in the types of muscle fibers, right? So thyroid hormones influence the development of different muscle fiber types. We have different types of muscles. Let's keep it simple. Different types of muscle fibers. Let's keep it simple. We have what are known as fast twitch and slow twitch, right? So fast twitch are like, right, skeletal muscle. Think of skeletal muscle for the most part, or type two muscle fibers or fast twitch, right? They're like boom, 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 high energy, high metabolism. And we have slow twitch muscle fibers. So muscle fibers that contract more slowly and gradually. And hypothyroidism in general, again, mostly Hashimoto's, can lead to a shift from your body making and developing fast twitch muscle fibers into slower twitch muscle fibers, which can affect muscle strength. It can affect muscle endurance, right? That's why you don't have any, we call it a phenomenon called activity intolerance, right? Like daily activities are tough to do. Anything above and below that, like, or above that, like exercise, like people crash, like their muscles, they don't have the endurance, they don't have the strength to do those things. Again, we also get impaired muscle contraction and relaxation. So thyroid hormones regulate something called myosin expression, which is a protein in the muscles, and the energy supply in the muscles. So this deficiency can lead to slower muscle contraction and relaxation. So symptom-wise, that feels like muscle weakness, aches, pain, stiffness, overall fatigue with physical exertion. And then the third thing when we talk about muscle dysfunction is something called glycogen accumulation. So what it does is hypothyroidism slows down the breakdown of glycogen. So glycogen is stored glucose. So your body will take glucose and store it primarily in the muscles and the liver. It's called glycogen. So that we can, it's like a savings account, right? So your body can take that glycogen and burn it for fuel if it needs to. Hypothyroidism in general, low thyroid function can impair that process, the breakdown of this glycogen to be able to use for energy. So that can lead to this glycogen accumulates in the muscles, right? It's building up, it's piling up in there like garbage bags. So that can contribute again to stiffness and muscle weakness and things like that. So that's on the muscle side of things. And I'll do a quick summary on this at the end. Neurotransmitters is next, right? We talked about brain function. We can also see it with just from a fuel standpoint, we can see it with neurotransmitter imbalances, right? So it can cause imbalances in brain chemistry and brain fog. So thyroid hormones significantly impact brain function and neurotransmitter synthesis. So like the production of these neurotransmitters, these brain chemicals, right? So we can get reduced neurotransmitter levels, right? So these neurotransmitters, we don't have them in the proper levels, which can affect mood, concentration, cognitive function, brain fog, mental fatigue. All these things sound familiar, don't they? They sound very familiar. This is one of the mechanisms as to why, okay, is the neurotransmitter levels, neurotransmitter balance. What's the other big one a lot of my patients come to me with that many of you may be listening to this or experiencing is depression, right? Depression, anxiety stuff, mood stuff. Right, depression. So fatigue is often intertwined with depression. Common symptom, again, of thyroid dysfunction, Hashimoto's. So this altered brain chemistry with these neurotransmitters can contribute to both the emotional and the physical aspects of fatigue. So physically you can feel fatigued and emotionally fatigued as well. Next, anemia. So anemia is a reduction in the classic anemia, right? So there's a couple major types of anemia. When I say anemia, people think of iron deficiency. That's one for sure. We can also get anemias from other vitamin deficiencies, primarily folate and B12, like B vitamin deficiencies. So hypothyroidism can sometimes lead to anemias, right? So either directly or indirectly then contributing to an iron deficiency or a nutrient deficiency. And then anemias, what they do is they reduce the oxygen carrying capacity of your blood. What does blood do? What do red blood cells do? They carry oxygen. That's their only job. So if we get anemia, we have reduced red blood cells. Now we can't carry the proper amount of oxygen that we need, right? So if we're not getting proper oxygen delivery to your tissues, to your cells and your tissues to burn for fuel, that's the combustion part is the oxygen. That's going to further exacerbate the fatigue. right? Any one of you who's listening to this again now has had anemia, you know that's a hallmark sign is fatigue. Because we don't have enough red blood cells to transport the oxygen to the cells, and the cells need to burn the oxygen for fuel for that combustion engine. Lastly, sleep disturbances. Again, these are super common things I see with all my patients are sleep problems. Again, most of you listening to this right now, it's like, yep, right? So hypothyroidism in general, again, caused by Hashimoto's, can cause sleepiness. You're tired. Here's the problem. Paradoxically, it's like a paradox or an oxymoron. Hypothyroidism can also contribute to poor sleep quality or things like sleep apnea, right? So it's like I'm tired all the time, but then I can't get good sleep. Now, there's other things in play here, adrenal function, all that kind of stuff, topic for a different day. But, and sleep environment and sleep hygiene, all those kinds of things are important. But that's the problem, right? So hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, causes fatigue, causes me to be sleepy, causes me to be tired all the time, but I can't sleep. Or when I do sleep, it's poor sleep quality. So this obviously can result in like your sleep is not restorative. You wake up and you feel unrefreshed and contribute to continued chronic daytime fatigue, especially. So those are the big ones that I see all the time, right? So let's do a quick recap. Some key mechanisms why Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism can cause fatigue. It slows down your metabolic rate. It impairs your cell's ability to produce energy, right? Mitochondrial dysfunction. It can contribute to muscle dysfunction. The muscles don't work right. It's going to cause issues with brain function, neurotransmitter imbalances, right? Contributes to all kinds of emotional stuff, mood, cognitive function, depression, things like that. Number 5 is anemia. Can contribute to anemias, so we don't carry oxygen properly. We're going to be fatigued. And then lastly, sleep disturbances. We're tired all the time, but we can't get good sleep. Any one of those on their own can cause fatigue, to be honest with you. And if you have hypothyroidism or you have Hashimoto's, you more than likely may have all of those. So again, what do we do about this, right? And this is my hallmark message every time. All of these problems are due to the hypothyroidism, the low thyroid, that comes from the Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune disease. So the big take home here is to fix this stuff. These are symptoms. Fatigue is a symptom. We've run through a bunch, 6 main reasons today why hypothyroidism causes the fatigue. All of these things need to be fixed on everyone. Number 1, the Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition. We need to address that first. We need to figure out what's causing the Hashimoto's in that individual, right? That's root cause identification. We need some clarity on someone's root causes, and then we need to treat them as we find them. AIP protocol and some testing, right? So testing is going to help us identify root causes. We need to look at getting the Hashimoto's figured out and get it under control, and then fix this stuff. Fix someone's mitochondrial dysfunction. Help fix their muscle dysfunction, their glucose metabolism. Help balance their neurotransmitters and get their brain working again. Identify anemias. Fix the sleep disturbances. Like, we have to start chopping wood now and fixing these things. It starts with the overarching Hashimoto's. I have this autoimmune condition. We got to figure out why that's happening and then get to work on starting to fixing these things, including the stuff we talked about today. There's other things for a different day to talk about, but we have to fix these things and then the symptoms go away. Like, that's the problem, right? And I know you guys that have been listening to me for a while, you've heard me bang this drum over and over and over again. That is the fundamental problem. It's the fundamental difference between medical management of thyroid conditions and functional medicine, or my world management of these conditions. Medicine is focused on pharmaceuticals to treat symptoms. So you have fatigue, take this pill to help make you feel more energized. My goal always, functional medicine's goal, is identify the root of the symptom. You have fatigue. Let's identify any and all possible causes of that. Address those, which again, Hashimoto's, the fatigue goes away with all the other symptoms. Mainstream medicine is always going to treat symptoms with medications, with pills, chemicals, right? Cover it up, band-aid it. It's not fixing anything. If we want to really get well and get things fixed, short-term and long-term, we have to get to the root of what's causing the symptoms and then deal with those things. It's usually more than one thing. Okay. Fatigue is a symptom of the Hashimoto's. We get to the root of the Hashimoto's, we get those things that are causing it handled, all the symptoms get better, including the fatigue. So I hope that makes sense for everybody today. These are the mechanisms as to why you're fatigued with the Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. We got to address the cause of the problem if we're going to get the symptom better and stay better. I want to thank you for tuning in to Hashimoto's Unfiltered, Real Talk, Real Solutions. Again, my name is Dr. Ray Benedetto, and I hope today's episode helped to give you the tools and the insights you need to take another step forward on your Hashimoto's journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode if you think someone could benefit. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Dr. Ray Benedetto and on my website, drraybenedetto.com, for more resources and updates. Until next time, remember, you're not alone and real solutions are always within reach. Take care and be well.